Hani Mahmoud, he's our other correspondent joining us from Rafah. Hi, Hani. So first, update us on the Nasser hospital raid, because we understand the World Health Organization has been blocked from getting into El Nasser hospital. So it'll be difficult to find out exactly what's still going on there.
Yes, Dareen, more terrifying experience for people who are inside the hospital, experienced mass arrest. So far, we're looking at 100 people have been arrested from Nasser hospital by the Israeli military and its invading forces inside the health facilities. But the Israeli military and its invading forces are conducting these search room to room, building to building, and doing so destroying and severely damaged medical equipment and the vast majority of the properties of the hospital, almost out of service health facility right now we're looking at. But what's tragic about what's going on is the Israeli military, along with its tanks and bulldozers, are blocking the entry of a convoy that consists of 2 trucks, one filled with the fuel to help the power generators to generate power for the ICU and help those inside the ICU and the incubators to stay alive, and the other one filled with medical supplies and other necessary survival items much needed right now for the desperate injuries and patients who are inside the hospital, particularly the most vulnerable that we look at, newly born babies inside the incubation, as they are at risk of losing their life. There is an oxygen depletion as well as the ongoing power outage, just making it very difficult for the remaining medical staff inside to provide any medical intervention whatsoever. It's just completely difficult situation inside the hospital, and doctors, whoever remain there, is under heavy pressure operating under these difficult circumstances.
Tarek, meanwhile, there have been more Israeli strikes overnight. Talk to us about those and tell us about their aftermath.
Yes, well, ongoing airstrikes in Rafah city here, and just overnight attack in a residential buildings. A flat was targeted. 1 person was reported killed and 5 others were critically injured, rushed to Al-Najjar hospital. But the highlights of what happened since early hours of this morning is the renewed massive artillery shellings and airstrikes in Gaza City, particularly the western part of the city, where more residential buildings are being targeted. In Sheikh Ridwan district, that's the northern part of Gaza City, a residential building was targeted and destroyed. 10 people reported killed, all from one family, and tens of other injuries. Now, the tragedy of people getting injured in Gaza City right now, or the northern part, is the fact that the absence of healthcare facilities, a functioning or operational healthcare facilities in Gaza, almost none of them is working. It just makes it very difficult to do any intervention or save lives. Likely people who are injured are left to bleed inside the hospital, whether it's a Shifa or the Indonesian hospital, that are largely out of service. They're left to bleed until they die. There are more reports of attacks in a Nusayrat refugee camp at earlier hours. More residential homes and more public facilities are being destroyed. We're looking now at an entire Gaza Strip being shredded by this intense bombing campaign on artillery shelling.
And Hani, you visited a factory that's providing a vital lifeline for mothers in Gaza. What did you see there?
Yes, one of the things that we thought it was incredible here, as people are trying to combat all the difficulties that they live day by day here, particularly in overcrowded Rafah city, is a factory that work on copying and design diapers for newly born babies and young children. It just represents a lifeline for the vast majority of parents here in overcrowded Rafah city, despite the limitations and the difficulties that they experience from power outage, the lack of raw material, but it's still able to respond to some of the demands, not all of them. This is what we seen when we visited the factory. The hum of the sewing machines isn't loud enough to drown out the sound of the bombs outside. But the work being done in this small factory in Rafah is a lifeline to thousands of parents. Personal protective gear is being repurposed as diapers.
We got the idea at the market. People were looking for diapers and would wait in line and buy them at a very high price.
Israel's complete siege of Gaza has halted the import of all goods since October. Items that used to be taken for granted, such as diapers and formula for babies, have become luxuries. The factory keeps its costs down by copying the design of the diapers and stitching them by hand. It produces 500 diapers a day and can't keep up with the demand. Israel is also accused of blocking the entry of humanitarian aid. The UN estimates only 20% of the roughly 580 trucks that used to enter Gaza daily are getting through. The UN says the entire population is at imminent risk of famine, and babies and young children are most at risk. While this factory is a welcome relief, it's only a fraction of what's needed.
Due to the war and siege, the price of diapers has become very high. People cannot afford to buy them for their children.
It is also a temporary solution. Supplies, raw materials will eventually run out. And the while, these workers are vulnerable to the ever-present threats from above. Hani Mahmoud, Al Jazeera, Rafah, Gaza.